Hi, I'm Wayne Baker, and for those that don't know me, I started out utilizing drones in 2014 when, as a fire chief, our department started to integrate drones into our emergency operations. And now for me, that's grown to where now I'm at DJI and I'm getting to travel across the country and meet a lot of great people in a lot of different industries and see how they're integrating drones into their operations to make them more efficient and safer. So I'm looking forward to you coming along this journey with me, and I couldn't think of a better person to start this series off with than a fellow pioneer in public safety drone use. But before we meet him, I'm in New Jersey at Darus Caterers Deli and Sub Shop. Let's meet the owners of Darus.
We've been here since 1976.
Oh, wow.
50 years.
Oh, man.
Yes, he's serving all the police and everybody in this area.
What do you think of Luis and his drones?
Oh, Luis is the man. Without him, he's got a cool truck that has drones with. He showed me, and it's really cool.
My name is Luis Figueiredo. I'm a detective in New Jersey, and I've been known to fly drones every once in a while. And I've been a cop for almost 20 years. And ever since I introduced drones into what I do at work, I think it's made my job a lot more interesting. And just proving the usefulness of the technology. And, you know, anything that's drones and public safety, I'm usually involved in. And it's been pretty much my mission the last few years.
So you didn't just jump to drones. You started on the street, worked your way up to detective. Kind of tell me about that progression.
Obviously, I started in patrol, and then I eventually ended up in our street crimes unit. From there, I ended up in narcotics. Now I kind of do, between the drone stuff in the department, between work in the narcotics division, and then I'm also assigned to Homeland Security investigation. So it seems like a lot, but, and then I try to tie in the drone stuff into all of that, which actually makes it pretty interesting.
How big is the city?
So we're just under 14 square miles.
And about how many people?
So population's anywhere between, I think it's around 150,000.
That's a pretty dense area that you're in, especially your location geographically. I mean, you're right here on the border of New York City. So crime is a lot different than what some areas might see.
It's definitely a different animal, right? Do we get a lot of calls for service? With the drone aspect of things, we are in the most complicated airspace in the country, right? A third of Newark International Airport is in our city. So it makes things complicated as far as like when we went through the waiver process, right? So it made things a little hard for us, but we were able to do that. Even at the time, we were the first agency in the country to get a jurisdictional waiver for Class Bravo airspace. And then even when we went the route of the BV loss, the Beyond Visual Line of Sight waiver, same thing, we were the first in the country for Class Bravo airspace.
Real quick, going back to success stories, you've had some major incidents. There was a terrorist incident. You had the major ship fire that you assisted a neighboring agency with. Kind of tell me about some of those major incidents that you've been able to utilize drones on.
So I think the first major incident that that opened up a lot of people's eyes for the use of drones in public safety was a few years ago in one of the neighboring cities. There was a domestic terrorist attack where there was a mass casualty incident and mass shooting, and the command post was set up. I think there was 3 city blocks, but when I say city blocks, it was pretty far away from the actual scene. They were hearing about it, but they weren't really seeing what was going on, and it became a real eye opener when we got there. And they were able to see everything that was being said over the radio. They were actually seeing it in person, in real time, and I think that made a huge impact. And I think from that point on, I think it just justified the equipment. More departments started looking into drones. Most recently, I think it was a year ago, we had that huge ship fire at the port of Newark, and there was some casualties in that fire too, 2 firefighters. And it was something, even in this area, I don't think anybody had dealt with an incident like that. And we went there, and I believe we were there for 4 days straight flying a drone because the interior of the ship was all burning, and we were able to track the heat temperatures from the exterior of the ship, and they were able to track the progression of the fire through the interior of the ship, all based on the heat signatures that they were getting from the outside. I think at one point they were telling us that we would get like 300, 400 degree readings on the exterior of the ship, which meant inside the ship was 1,000 degrees, right? So it's not like you can send somebody inside and say, hey, what deck is the fire in, and how far into the deck is it going? And we were able to accomplish that all through, using a thermal camera on the drone.
For a long time, we've worked in the industry to justify the use of drones, especially with law enforcement, the challenges that come with that, with privacy concerns and the like. But one of the big ones that's tied in with legislation is the data security. So kind of walk me through how you analyze and mitigate any risks with data security.
People that know me, they know I'm extremely passionate when it comes to the whole legislation aspect of this. But the easiest way to mitigate it is if you have that many doubts about, the data being taken and sent, where it's not supposed to be going, then you fly with data services turned off. You don't need to have your drone hooked up to the internet to operate it, right? Just like most of the users, the end users in this country that are using drones, they're on a municipal state level, right? We're not doing anything that's considered national security. So if you're that paranoid about, what's being taken out of your drone, then you can completely fly blind, right? You can turn off all the data services, no internet communication, and you can create all those barriers just to mitigate any issues that people might think that things are being taken out of the drone.
What do you think the impact of some of this legislation that could restrict your agency's choice of products to use? What kind of impact do you think that would have on your program?
In my opinion, if that legislation were to happen, we would cease to have a drone program. But when it comes to your local departments or even state departments, I don't think we wouldn't be able to do it. We wouldn't be able to just pivot our drone program and completely change our technology to something else, because I don't think we'd be able to afford it. And even hypothetically, if we're able to afford a change, the expectations would be completely gone, right? We would no longer be able to support a lot of the stuff that we currently do with our program if we were using other equipment. Even if we're talking about other industries, right? There's a lot of people that make a business using drones that aren't police and fire, right? You have people that are doing photography, right? You have people that are surveyors, and they're using consumer drones, right? So if you eliminate, DJI drones, right? You're only not affecting police and fire. You're affecting a lot of other industries out there, right?
Where do you see technology going? What would you like to see happen next, or in the evolution of drone technology? What would you like to see the next steps be for drones?
Yeah, as far as in public safety, I think the future of drones is going to be in autonomous response. We'll get to a point where there'll be less human involvement, right? Where everything will be integrated. A call comes in, dispatch will enter the information, and automatically the program itself will pick that up on the priority of the call, and you can have an autonomous drone, not necessarily even at headquarters, anywhere through your town, that can be there right away on scene, right?
How do you see a drone being able to actually de-escalate the situation?
There's plenty of calls that come in for person with a weapon, right? So when you have a drone that can get to the scene quicker, right, and now you locate the person, right? Now it could be the weapon. Maybe it wasn't a weapon, right? Or the caller thought they had seen something, right? So now it's going to affect the way that the officers are going to approach the scene, right? Because now it's like now you have a visual on it, and you can confirm if it's a weapon or not, and obviously the approach is going to be a lot different. I think that's the best way to de-escalate any type of incident like that.
So any last thoughts? Anything you want to add?
The only thing, right, and this is all based on obviously the climate in the country with the proposed legislation. I just think it's, I think the people that are proposing the changes to the legislation, I think they need to go out and see these programs more in person, right? I think that's, and I try to be vocal about that instead of just trying to change the legislation, not knowing what the technology is being used for, right? Not knowing everything that we do with it. I'm hoping that is accomplished, right? I think the end users need to be heard a lot more. It's sad to see, the people that are in Washington, testifying to, the equipment that we're using, and they're not the end users. And these are the people that are being heard. I think that's the biggest, punch to the gut is, they're taking our voices away, right? They need to look more into these programs, go out, talk to the agencies that are using this technology. That's what I'm hoping happens, and maybe that'll make a difference, and we don't have to, deal with any more, future pending legislation and, any changes to what we do on a daily basis.
Well, while it was fun hanging out with Luis, I got to tell you, I'm glad I'm back home in Texas. Thank y'all for watching. See you again soon.